Hi everybody, Miss Nancy here in the children's section of the Dowling Library at the Irish Center. This is our introduction to Irish children's authors, and I found out some fun things when I was researching this. The first book we're going to read is by this man, Jonathan Swift. He was born in Ireland, in Dublin, in 1667, before America was even a country, and he died in Dublin as well in 1745. He went to Trinity College in Dublin, which if any of you have ever visited Dublin, it's got the Book of Kells and beautiful, beautiful grounds. But I wanted you to see his picture because you can tell how long ago he was born by the style of hair and dress that he is wearing. This is the book, Gulliver's Travels. Some of you may have heard of it, some of you may not. I have two versions here. I'm only going to be reading from this one here, but this is also in the children's library at the Dowling, so if you wanted to come by and look at this one as well, that would be wonderful. What I'm going to do is the same as I've done before. I'm going to read and then hold up the page so everybody can see what I'm reading. Lemuel Gulliver stood at the prow and leaned into the salty spray. All the years he studied medicine at the university, Gulliver had dreamed of the day he'd travel the world. Now his adventure began. Captain Pritchard had hired Gulliver to be the doctor on board the Golden Antelope. Today, the ship set sail on an expedition to the South Seas. After weeks of smooth sailing, a ferocious storm hit. "All hands on deck," hollered Captain Pritchard. Gulliver clung to the rigging. With a sickening crack, the mast split. Sails crashed down, crushing the men below. A giant wave smashed the ships along the jagged rocks and splintered it into pieces. Everyone on board drowned, except, that is, Gulliver. I must keep going. Choking and desperate, Gulliver struggled to stay afloat, fighting the winds and the waves all that long, dark night. Gulliver was half dead when the cruel sea spat him up onto the cold, sandy shore. When Gulliver woke, he couldn't move. "Help!" he called out. He twisted and he turned, but his legs and arms were lashed in place by hundreds of strong, slender ropes. Even his long hair was pinned to the sand with stakes. "I am the Emperor of Lilliput," said a small but commanding voice, "and you are my prisoner." The man was no more than 6 inches tall. He stood on Gulliver's chest. In fact, Gulliver saw that he was surrounded by hundreds of tiny people. "Please let me go," said Gulliver. "I promise I mean you no harm." The Lilliputians gave Gulliver a sleeping potion. When he slept, the Lilliputians shackled him and put him on a flatbed wagon. Hundreds of tiny horses pulled Gulliver to a deserted temple in the capital city. When the Lilliputians saw how friendly and gentle Gulliver was, thousands came to marvel at him. The emperor came every day. "Where did you come from?" the Lilliputians asked Gulliver. "Why are you so big?" Gulliver smiled and answered every question politely. Soon the emperor ordered his shackles to be removed, so he was free to go wherever he wished. "We're proud to have you living among us," said the emperor. Would you take part in a royal military procession? I'd be honored to, answered Gulliver. He stood astride the road proudly, and the entire Lilliputian army marched through his legs. The Lilliputians were very kind to Gulliver. Every day they brought him food. Gulliver thanked them for their generosity. He knew he ate more than everyone else in the kingdom put together. Gulliver especially enjoyed speaking with the Empress, who was intelligent and beautiful and very curious about the world. Gulliver was careful not to knock over trees, crush the Empress's favorite flowers, or laugh too loud. His laughter shook the ground like an earthquake. One day, the worried emperor said, "Our enemies in the kingdom next to us have sent a large fleet of warships to attack Lilliput. Can you help us?" "Of course," answered Gulliver. "I'll do everything I can to protect my friends here in the kingdom of Lilliput." Boldly, he waded out to meet the enemy ships. Enemy archers fired thousands of tiny arrows that stung Gulliver's hands and face like a swarm of hornets. Brave Gulliver gritted his teeth, tied the warships together, and hauled them back to the harbor. The Lilliputian army cheered, and the enemy was so terrified of Gulliver that they quickly agreed to peace. "You're a true hero," praised the emperor. "It was the least I could do to repay your kindness," Gulliver said modestly. Two of the emperor's advisors became jealous. "The emperor doesn't listen to us anymore. He listens only to that clumsy, arrogant giant," hissed one. "We must kill Gulliver," said the other. Gulliver overheard the advisors plotting against him. "It's time for me to leave," Gulliver said to the emperor. "I'm sorry you feel you must go," said the emperor, "but we will help you." Night and day, the royal boat builders worked. Weavers wove a giant sail, and the bakers baked loaves of bread for his trip. After 2 years in Lilliput, Gulliver left for home. Tears filled his eyes as he set sail on his special boat. "Goodbye," he called. "I'll truly miss you all." The Lilliputians cheered and cried. They blew their trumpets and their noses, and beat their tiny drums as their favorite giant sailed away. Gulliver waved goodbye until he could no longer see the shore. Starving and thirsty after many weeks at sea, Gulliver spotted a ship. "Ahoy!" he shouted with all his might. "Ahoy there!" answered the sailors from the deck. "Come aboard!" Gulliver stood on board looking at the long blue horizon. "I'm happy to be going home," he thought, "but I'll never forget my friends in Lilliput or the adventures we shared." And that is the end of our book for today.